Hey, you're listening to the Burnt Out Entrepreneur podcast, where you'll learn why you're feeling so burnt out, some insights and hacks to get you along this entrepreneurial journey. I'm Kylie Yota, former oil and gas manager turned health coach, life coach, and business mentor for female entrepreneurs just like you, and help them heal and recover from burnout. Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Burnt Out Entrepreneur. Today, I'm here with Emily Woodruff, and I'll just say it's been such a pleasure meeting Emily. Like, we have so different things in common. I was on her podcast first, and then we did a podcast swap. So if you want to go listen to that episode on her podcast, see just the title of her podcast, I was like, No Mercy. Because if you're familiar with the archetypes, I'm a part powerhouse and part the popular loves connecting with other people, which is why I like reaching out. And we met in a podcasting group. But then also the powerhouse is like, that is like, but oddly enough, Emily, you are a philanthropist when you took the quiz. And for those of you who are listening that aren't familiar with all the different archetypes, philanthropist is someone who is on the opposite side of the powerhouse, who the powerhouse is primarily driven by money and success. And then the philanthropist is the opposite of that, obviously, right? They're not really here to make money, but they're actually here to support and help others. That's really important because Emily serves female entrepreneurs who are growing their businesses and they need additional help. Because a lot of times we need that additional help to focus on our passions in our businesses. And what he is the founder of Moxie Assist, and she helps women to empower them and to be and do their best in whatever path that they are in their own lives. And part of that, what she offers is she does logo and brand design, and she also does branding photography. And today we're going to be talking about how Emily has done a lot of shifting in her life. She has a full-time job, and we have a lot of similar connections in that aspect because she's in a male-dominated industry, and I was also in a male-dominated industry. And she's in construction and oil and gas, but there's a lot of similarities there. And yeah, you can go listen to my episode on her podcast because we talked a lot about that. Just working in a male-dominated environment. But there's a lot of, let's say, like context switching that we have to do as females working in a male-dominated world. And because she's still working there, and she does Moxie Assist, where she helps other women to develop their business, and she supports other people's businesses. So today we're going to talk about how to really decompress and like transition between that work and that home space. Even for those who are working from home primarily, we need to have that transition time between home office and the living room, even if it's like 10 steps away, because we need that mental transition space. Like, how does someone who is a mom, who is a wife, who is doing all the things, working a day job and doing the virtual assistant work, helping others with the virtual assistant field, how do you make time for all the important things in your life? Because that is the number one thing that I get with my clients is like, I'm feeling burnt out. And it's like, well, are you prioritizing what is important to you? And set client boundaries. And I know I have some of you listening who are still in that startup phase, who do work a day job, because we've all been there. You stay at your corporate job until you can transition into full-time entrepreneurship. How do you find the balance, not only in your work and your personal life, but how do you set client boundaries that are appropriate and not offend people? Because and I actually wrote a blog about this week about that. So you'll hear all about the boundaries and everything if you go ahead and read the blog. Without further ado, welcome Emily to the podcast.
Yay, so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So tell us when you are transitioning from your day job into your job, or how do you do it? What is that mental process that you take yourself through?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the day too. I really like structure and order, and I would love to just punch the clock and say now is my cooking dinner time, but life just doesn't work that way. So my full-time job, which you mentioned earlier, I work an hour away from home. My husband and I both do, so commute together most of the time. And for that hour that we're driving home, that's most of our decompression time. We can kind of get out the frustrations of the day. We can have our one-on-one time with one another, and just kind of get out of work mode and start thinking about the things we need to tackle at home. So we have a small hobby farm. Our goal is to eventually be able to sustain ourselves and kind of live off the land. And I don't want to have a full commercial sized farm, just enough for us to be able to provide for ourselves and maybe
the neighbors or something.
Yeah, the options. So come home, and if it's summertime, the first thing we need to do is go into our garden and check on our vegetables and things like that. Now that it's winter, it's really difficult to get me to do it, but I have to. The first thing I have to do when I get home, because I live in Michigan, 5 o'clock, it's pitch black out and it's awful, but we have to go out to our animals and take care of them. I go out to our chickens and I go out to our little goats, and we have to feed them and water them and just give them some attention because they're very social animals. They live with our chickens. And that's kind of a fun thing for me too. I can go out there in a really bad mood. And if I'm playing with the goats, they'll just change things around for me. So they're kind of a mood booster for me also. And I have dogs too, but they just want to lay on top of me, and they're fine if I'm not doing anything. They like when I have downtimes or when I'm working, because I work from my couch most of the time, and they can just pile on me while I'm plugging away. And then I usually, as soon as that's done, then it's time to, I'm a stepmom, so I have my stepson with us. It's time to start doing our dinner prep and cooking, and that usually takes me right into dinner, and then our night is seemingly over. When we're done with dinner, I will usually spend the last hour or hour and a half catching up on things that I do for my clients. Most of my clients know that my life is very much week on, week off. Weeks that we have my stepson, I'm a lot less available. And the weeks that we don't have him, I'm way more free, because we don't even eat dinner together when it's just my husband and I. We'll sit on the couch by each other or kind of snack through the night or whatever. That's what adults do, I guess. That's what we do. It depends on the day, depending on how many people are in my house. And just doing the things that are absolutely necessary. It's a hard word. And that kind of just helps me to kind of refocus and check off the things that need to be done. And then I can get into whether it's a creative space that I need to be working in for somebody, or working on my own website or blog or something along those lines. I can't just sit down and do that whenever I want to. I have to be in the right realm.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you talked about that, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs like to build social media content, and because raise your hand if you're listening. Raise 2 hands if you're driving while you're listening, but just raise 1 hand if social media is the bane of your existence as an entrepreneur. Because we have to be present, or even working. I am not very good at copywriting, which is why I started a podcast. Okay.
Talking. And so it's a good transition, is that for me, that has a lot to do with time blocking and how I manage my own time in my business. And there's a lot of times that I'm okay, I just saw this really neat thing. I'm going to post it. I'm going to share it. I'm going to yada, yada, and put that on my Instagram or whatever. But I more recently am being very intentional with scheduling and bulk scheduling. And it really is a game changer. It feels good that I usually do it once a week, because if I do it too far in advance, I kind of get out of touch with it.
It's what am I feeling this week, and what do the people need to hear from me this week?
And I can post certain things. If a podcast is releasing, I can schedule those way in advance, because I know that that's the day it's going to go live. But if it's more of my tips on how to manage this, or how to effectively hold up boundaries with your clients, or something along those lines, that's something that I have to feel it and want it, because if I get a good response from it, I have to be willing to engage with my client base also. And if I'm just not in that mode, then I don't want to post things like that and not be willing to respond. And I kind of do it on a week-to-week basis, and I know how much time I can allot for it. And that has been incredibly helpful for me.
Love it. I love it. And So the people who are listening and maybe aren't there yet, how do you, as a virtual assistant, like how do you help your clients go
Yeah.
through that? Because sometimes like what I hear a lot is that I just want to outsource that. If you are looking to outsource, what are some of the ways that people can get ready to be able to outsource some of that stuff?
I actually just did an Instagram post about this a couple days ago and how that you're ready to outsource or when you're ready to hire a virtual assistant. So there's 3 things that I typically will respond to. But to know that you're financially ready to take on a VA, and here's my little shout out for VAs. There's pluses and minuses to having somebody who you outsource things to, whether you hire an employee who's going to be there 40 hours a week, or if you hire a VA, it can be on an as need basis. I have clients that send me an email every Monday and say, here's the things I need you to tackle for me this week. And I have other clients that email me literally once a month or once every 3 weeks or something and say, hey, I need extra help in this area available now. Can you take this on? Which is really neat because then they don't feel burdened to fill a time clock for me. You don't feel like they have to have me for a full 40. I'm not the VA that has 40 hours to commit to somebody's business. I love being somebody's help when they need it. And I know that it really makes an impact on them because it's the things that they very much can't do on their own or they don't have time for, but I can do it quickly. So off of my soapbox for a second.
Talk about that all the time. It's like I could hire out this thing that, yes, 100% I could do myself. But if I hire it out and I stick to my zone of genius, which is coaching and meeting with clients, when I was doing more of the back end stuff, I'm like, tell me everything that you're doing. And let's see where we can. I have an acronym. It's AED, which is, if you're not familiar with the medical terms, AED is that defibrillator that you see on the wall sometimes. And that's what you put on someone if they go into shock or they have a heart attack. You jumpstart their heart with the paddles, right? And so AED, automate, eliminate, delegate. That is really going to jumpstart your business, especially if you're feeling sluggish and you're feeling like your business is moving at the pace of molasses. Like, what can you automate? These are the ways to get things taken off your plate. Automate, because yes, you may not be ready to hire an assistant, but can you find an app or even like a free app? Emily says she schedules her stuff, or you can use the native schedulers inside of these platforms to schedule things. And then eliminate. Like, really, do we really need to do this? I know you're probably with some of your clients and they give you that list. You're like, do we really need to do that? I don't know.
I have my own business. I used to try to post to Facebook, Instagram, and stay active with my blog, my email newsletter, and my Pinterest account. And my audience is changing really drastically right now. And my Facebook followers are just absolutely not my ideal clients anymore. They were the people who were interested in my wedding photography business. And it's amazing to me. If I post something about my virtual assistant business or branding or logo design, and I'm like, that's some good content, I'll literally get like 2 likes. But I did my 2 last weddings in the last couple months here. And literally every single post that I made regarding those weddings, they were like, I would get 75 and 56 and shares and comments and just insane. For me, who my little Facebook page has been tucked in the corner of Facebook because nobody engages on it, for me to get that kind of views was like, these are just not my people anymore. I stopped spending time in the Facebook realm. And I just made an update yesterday. I'm going to close my Facebook group that used to be like virtual, I don't know. I used to like send all of my updates there or release any of my upcoming mini sessions and things because I still do other photography too. But I'm closing it because I put too much effort into it. And the people that are in those groups are they're just not anymore. And that's okay. So it's something I can take off of my plate, get it off of my mind, stop feeling I've posted all these things. Why are people not engaging? I torment myself over the content that doesn't perform. I don't need to do that to myself. I don't need to waste my time. I don't need to waste my energy, and I don't need to waste theirs. There's nothing that I can't stand more on the internet than getting a notification from a group that I don't want to be a part of. No, I don't want you to tag me in your stupid at everyone thing. There's a engage. I don't like it. I've used it twice and it's been in the last week, and it's to make these closing statements, and that's it. Trying really hard to focus on the areas that I know that my people are in. And
Yes,
it's okay if your people change over time. If your business is changing, it's actually really good if your audience changes as you grow, because that means you're reaching new people and you're reaching the people who want to be found, honestly. So, kind of down a tangent, but
that's good, because I know
important.
one of the things I did want to talk about today was how do we as female entrepreneurs, especially for those of us who have pivoted, right? If you've been following me, not on this podcast, but if you've been following my entrepreneurial career, that I've done health coaching, I've done relationship coaching, I've done business coaching, and now with this, but there was, so when I was confused about my brand and my identity, who did I want to be online? I was like, I'm doing this and that and that and that. And what came out of my soul searching and a lot of journaling was there was a burnout theme throughout, because my burnout episode had the biggest impact on my life. That was when the doctor said, if you do not change your habits and your lifestyle, you will end up here again or worse in 1 year. And I was like, what? He said, if you don't quit your job in a year, I can't really help you. I was like, what are you talking about? And that's when, one, the opportunities popped up, and I got prophetic words about quitting my job. And I was like, okay, so God was really lining everything up. And then when I got to the full-time entrepreneurship, like actually turning in my 2 weeks notice, it felt that Indiana Jones scene where you just have to step blind faith, right? Like hope that the ledge will be there. And it's like,
yeah,
and
that's
I
what
was like,
faith is.
and I was like, okay, you're here. But I'll tell you, this was corporate income. If you're watching on YouTube, my hands are wide. And the ledge that he gave me was like, I was like, oh, the income wasn't as much as it was in corporate. I was like, okay. I didn't, when we are entrepreneurs, we don't always think about taxes and
The overhead costs.
And I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, it's tiny. It's not as big as I thought, but you know, one foot in front of the other. You just keep going. And some days the tightrope was a lot tighter than it was, but through it all, God keeps us. If God is leading you in a direction, then he will sustain you in that, right? Those of you who are like, I don't know. One, wait for God to tell you when it's your time to move. And the week that I got the offer to join someone's team full time, he gave me the same word 3 times that week. And it was in my personal time where I was like flipping through it wasn't like I got 3 different words, which God speaks to me in 3s all the time. It's like 1 is nice. I'm like, okay. Second time, I'm like, oh. And then when he hits me with that 3rd, I'm like, okay, this one. You want me to? That's great. I was like, and then that prophetic word also came that same week. And then I got a job offer to join someone's team full time. And I was like, not bad. And I was excited. So my husband was telling me, it's like, wait a minute, that's gross. This is your corporate growth. And this is like, because that's all you're getting. You, oh, but I already said yes. So, and I hadn't signed anything with them yet, but I would just say the different flags that God showed me that week. I was like, it may not look like it in the natural, but in the spirit, I'm like, okay, I don't know, God, I really feel, and even now as I'm talking, this is how the Holy Spirit gives me the signs. I'll get like my hair standing up on my arm, my right side. I was like, so that's how I knew it was my time to leave, even though it didn't look like it. It was that super Indiana Jones faith walk.
If it's something that he's calling you to, he will confirm it and he will make it abundantly clear And it's usually confirmed in someone that's not you also. That's for me, like I'm really seeking what God has for me in whatever arena it is. If it's me, I'm going to doubt it up and down and left and right until I can't do it, until there's nothing else to doubt. But somebody else will confirm it. And that I think is the number one thing. And it's usually somebody that I haven't asked to even be praying for this thing.
We have no knowledge. Just
Yeah.
out of the blue, someone will come and
we should be doing this, or God told me that this is going on, or there's so many things in the kingdom of God and how he works. And usually finding peace over the subject, not usually always, but having peace over it is something that is God-given. And typically, if he's calling you to something, he's not going to leave you uneasy about it. There's assurance and affirmation and empowerment that comes in only a way that God can do it for you, and only a way that he can speak it to you. And he's brilliant enough to know the ways that I need to be affirmed compared to the way like husband needs to be affirmed. He knows how to speak to me personally and intimately. And it's just beautiful how he can do that with so many different people and all of our different needs. And I'm just really thankful for that.
I know for the longest time, I was confused. I felt like, what is his name? Samuel. God, is that you? Are you calling me? Until Eli had to tell him, or he was like, Eli, are you calling me? And he's like, no, I'm not calling you. That's how it is sometimes. We're like, we go to our coaches or our mentor. Is this the way that I'm supposed to go in my business? Because we're looking for confirmation from someone that we look up to. We have a really good Christian coach and mentor that hears from God. And she'll say, why don't you take that to God? Because I could tell you. I have a coach that says, I could tell you what to do, but then I'd be good at running your business. No, you need to be good at running your business. So she's like, oh no, we'll journal on it, go talk to God about it and see what he says.
And that's what a lot of it is. But you need to surround yourself with people who are going to speak truth into your life, and they are not afraid to point you directly to God. Sometimes it's one of those things that we think that it's a simple answer, but it is the best answer every time. If I have friends or clients that come to me and say things, and if I know that they're Christians, I'm not going to preach at them if they're not, but if they ask me if they're having an issue and, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, this is still going on. Hey, this is happening. What's your advice? I'm like, okay, I know where you're at in your faith journey. I'm going to speak to you. Do you want me to listen to you, or do you want me to actually respond to you in a biblical Christian way? The very first thing I'm going to tell you is, how much time have you been praying about it? How much time have you spent digging into the word and deepening your relationship with God to be able to get the answers that you need? And it's usually, I knew that was the answer. I knew that that's what I needed to hear. I knew that's what I needed to do. Sometimes you just need to be kind of slapped with it and on the right way.
That's no mercy.
For sure. That's the whole premise of the name behind my podcast is, I don't believe in murky water. I don't believe in just getting your toes wet kind of deal. I'm just me in my personal life. I'm either very hot or very cold. There's no in between on almost anything. I'm very cut and dry. I'm very to the point. I don't like to muddy stuff up to try to make things look a little bit better. I'm the person that people come to and they say, I appreciate your honesty and your bluntness and your whatever. And I'm like, it's a curse and it's a gift at the same time, because it really doesn't matter to me who you are. If you're asking for it, I'm going to tell you what I think. And I try very hard to do it in a professional and productive manner. A lot of times that's what you need. You're not looking for fluff. You're not looking for the extras. So we talk on my podcast about the negatives, the hurtful things, the painful things that you go through as a business owner. Talk about the way that you've been stretched, or the way that your life before entrepreneurship was dragging you in the dirt, or if you were in a certain type of industry, how I interviewed a salon owner one time and said, how about we talk about some of the stereotypes? Kind of just laughed. Exactly. And it's like, you immediately think of the hairstylist or the hairstylist owner, whatever, as a ditzy, can't really do business. All they know is
blonde.
And she said it feels like something that she runs into every single day. She's got like 3 degrees. She owns 2 locations. She successfully has managed this business through COVID. She runs her home, has kids, all healthy. And I'm like, you are the exact opposite of what that stereotype is. She still sees it every single day. And it's just a neat world to be able to interact with other people and try to kind of break down those stereotypes and try to cut the crap on them. That's kind of what my goal is to just to meet people where they are and to be able to, that's my goal with the podcast anyway, is to meet people where they're at and kind of shed some light into certain areas that seem to be dark for entrepreneurs and different.
Yeah. And even that's the goal of this podcast. Burnout is currently a buzzword, but there is a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of like neurological science behind it. And that's why I created the burnout archetypes, because I wanted people to understand that, because when I learned about burnout, it was, well, burnout is this. And of course, I learned about it through the medical diagnosis. Part of it was the science part. But then when I was looking at it, I worked in shift work for 19 years in oil and gas, and we flip-flopped 2 weeks of days, 2 weeks of nights, 2 on, 2 off. We just had this rotating shift working schedule. And part of my healing process was to be taken off of that for 3 months. And talk about stereotypes. When I was taken off, there was also a guy who was out of work with cancer. And everyone was like, I hope he's better. Right, because cancer, it's bad. But my healing journey, because they didn't know that my doctor said, I don't even know how you walked into my office today with those numbers. Mine was also a life or death situation.
Couldn't see it.
Just couldn't see it. And I was like, cancer is an invisible disease as well, because it eats at you on the inside. And it just, that's when like brain turned on with the whole stereotypes and like how people with burnout go overlooked for so long because of the stereotype. I don't want to take time off because it's going to make me look bad. Or even like for entrepreneurs, I don't want to not show up on social media, but my personal life, or even like you wanted to take off for the holidays, or you don't want to show up. Like here, I let go a lot of my clients because I had other projects coming up. I have a book coming out. And this is the other thing. God told me that I needed to leave, and he kept showing me, you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to drop these clients. And I'm like, but they need me. And I'm getting validation and income, which is like the
dream.
And he's like, no, you need to drop it. And then lo and behold, my grandmother passed away. And I was traveling back and forth to Hawaii to see family. I was like, there's no way I could have done that successfully if I had all of these full-time clients. And I was like, oh my God, you're always okay. I need to listen to you more. But then just like when you're talking about the friend that you call or that calls you, that's how God talks to me too. He's like, do you want the real answer? Or do you want me to give you the sugar-coated answer because you're not ready to hear it yet?
Like, that's what the beauty of having a virtual assistant in your business is. That's the main point behind it, is to keep you able to feed into your business and not continue to be overwhelmed, and to not have all of these things that are holding you back from succeeding when it's literally, that's one of the other things. I'll go back to my list. The first,
some off.
Okay. First thing is to know when you're financially ready. And we started talking about how there's a difference between hiring a full-time employee and a freelancer. And there's also a difference too. So you're financially ready. It doesn't mean that you are having a good couple of months. If you're looking to hire somebody full-time, you want to have a good several months and know that you can plan in advance. But with a virtual assistant, you can do one task jobs, or you can do hourly packages for a month or something along those lines, and delegate what has to be done and pay what you are able to afford. And then if things change, if you fall into a dry season or a slow season, you don't have to fire them. You can just not use them for a little while, and that's okay. Something else to look for is when you need processes for your business and like checklists and procedures, you need that created for routine operations. A lot of people
Yeah.
overlook that in entrepreneurship because it's your business and you're the brain behind it. But if you really want to scale your business and really want to become, bigger than just you need to have those processes written out. You need to have a backup person who can do those sorts of things. You need to have somebody who can come in. If there is a situation like if somebody in your immediate family passes away and you can't tend to your clients, you can have a VA come in and make sure that your automations are at least working and
just check the Zapier once a week.
That's something that's really important. And then the last thing that I say is when you have too much of your creative work to process and a full admin backlog.
Gosh, yes.
So I'm a creative. I came as a photographer. There are times in the photography business, a lot of them, to speak kind of directly to that, but a lot of photographers only the photo taking part of their job. They're really great photographers, but they're really horrible business managers. So they need an online business manager or a VA, which is basically the same thing. Whatever you want to call us, there's some different titles, but they need somebody who can take their creative work after they've processed it and edited it to be able to take it and get it on the website, get it sent to their clients, get the albums made, get the X, Y, and Z, do all of these things, send the follow-ups. And some people have an issue with it because it feels like they are not the one that's seeing the project from start to finish. It's not like I'm taking over your business. I work with you and I learn your voice. I learn how you speak. A lot of times I'll get a transcript from you and it's literally the same thing. When I was a photographer, I really am, but when I would send a gallery to a client when it was done, I use the exact same transcript for every single gallery that I send. What is the difference if I type it or if my VA types it? Nothing. Right. It just gets sooner if my VA does it a little bit more efficiently. It's coming. And then making sure like receipts are filed the right way. Your email is inbox 0. I'm an inbox 0 person.
Yes.
My very best friend has diagnosed ADHD and she has had me go into her email and look for things before. She literally has like 9,000 unread emails. I can't. I can't. I don't understand your brain. But it's perfect for people like that. She's entertained the idea several times. I just need you to go in and clear it up for me. And I would love to do that, but I know that I will give you 1 month and you'll be calling me again, which I guess is good for me. But those are the 3 things that I recommend a person does as a self-evaluation of their business to determine if they need a VA. And those are just some of the things to do, but those are the 3 main things in my opinion.
And so to go back, the AED, right? Automate, eliminate, delegate. And I put the A and the E before the delegate because sometimes we want to delegate everything, but then that's when the cost goes up. Because it's like, well, do we need to do that? And once you can automate certain things that you have processes for them and whatever, and you can start automating those, the cuffs to save you some time. And then the eliminate, that's where you really cull through your tasks and everything that you're doing every week. And a lot of times I tell my clients when we start, do a time audit. Just write down what you're doing at each hour of the day. And it could just be on like a random sheet of paper. It doesn't have to, I prefer a calendar like this that has the hourly things. It's easy for me. Like, what did I do at 6 a.m. today? Played with my puppy. What did I do at 8 a.m.? I recorded a podcast. I say it's just budgeting. What did I spend my money on? What did I spend my time on? And it's not, I know a lot of my clients who have like ADHD tendencies, they don't even remember what they did because they're ping-ponging, they're context switching, they're multitasking. It gets confusing for them. Like, I did a lot of things in that 1 hour. It's like, well, there you go.
That's something too. We can go down the ADHD route for a minute, but so one of my clients is an ADHD podcaster, and she has come to me and said, she seems like actually retains information better than I do, but I'm really good at note taking. I don't actually have to. I can write it down enough that I will pick up the paper 3 months from now and then remember exactly what we talked about. She takes a lot of effort to trying to be so present because of her ADHD. It just stays there And I try to tell her, hey, there was an instance where she had said, I have this meeting with a client that I'm working with, and they're saying that I told them X, Y, and Z. I remember it differently. Do you record your meetings because they're all virtual? I'm like, well, you can replay that meeting. Then I'd have to go sift through it. You could record it and transcribe it. And you can literally just search your Word document and figure out where you guys talked about it. It'll take a third of the time. And there's free transcribers out there. There's just simple things you can do. And I'm like, those are things that your virtual assistant can do. That's something I can do is, here's the recorded meeting from me and my client A. I need you to take notes on this and put them somewhere that I can easily access them. Totally something I can do. Something you don't want to, but it's something that's absolutely necessary for somebody who's neurodivergent to be able to delegate that task and get it handled. Different for everybody too, which is a fun thing about VA work, is it's never the same.
And that's the thing with neurodivergent and the executive functioning piece. That's why a lot of virtual assistants have a high administrative gifting, right? And they have higher executive functioning. It's not that one is good or bad. It's just that's how our brains are wired differently. And sometimes more creative people are more, you'll see the stereotypes in movies, artist, messy house, but super creative, and like Einstein, Bach, they spent such energy creating stuff that they let all the other things go by the wayside. It's not good or bad. It's just that's how their brains worked, and they were able to spout those creative genius projects. And who would light bulb? We would not have light bulbs if they were like, well, I really need to clean my house today. So
a really good real life example is my husband is the most ADHD person I have ever met, ever. He will literally be in the middle of, the other day I just cleaned up a mess from something that he did 6 months ago because I didn't notice it. I wasn't there. It happened. I had him hang up new curtain rods and I'm looking at them if you're watching. And he drywall into the wall and it spits out some drywall dust. I didn't see the drywall dust happen when the project was going, but if this were a project that I were doing, I would gather all my tools at the end, I would put them in their places, and then I would go and sweep that area and make sure it was clean. I don't have to worry about it later. He'll run the screw in the wall, he'll see the drywall fall, he'll dust it off of himself, and then he will set his drill down and move into another room and start doing something different. He has no mind
drama or like a thing on the inside that needs to finish the project.
I don't know if it's anxiety because I'm definitely anxiety ridden, but or what it is that like makes me need to clean this up. I'm just cleaner than him. I don't know, but I'm looking into my kitchen and there's 3 projects that he's started in front of me. He's also doing 16 other things. I tell him all the time, you need one of those tile trackers for your phone or for your tape measure. And he's like, oh, I don't need to have that. I'm like, well, don't ask me 6 times a day where you've left it and put one on your keys and make me late for work again.
I had a boss and I was like, where's your this? Where's your that? And he recently came to California for a visit and I felt like I was doing that again. I was like, hey, because it's just like the role that we have. Get your and it was just like, gosh, how easy we just fall back into those roles.
Like I said, that my life is very week on, week off because that's our schedule with our kids. And you would think that the weeks that it's just my husband and I,
easier,
grown people who know how to do dishes and know how to throw the trash out. And, I love my husband. Don't take this as bashing. I literally just was cleaning up the living room today and there were like 9 plates on the table that were all his and 4 cups and his trash basket was not changed. And literally, how do you do that? It looks like a family has been in here eating and leaving their plates out. How is this a thing? And I have 1 cup on my table. Just funny. And I'm drinking out of it still. It's just funny how differently we can process and handle and deal with things inside of our own house.
Mom's the same. And I will say I'm like both, because I am that person that will leave my cups everywhere because I'm bouncing between like eating or whatever. That's just me. I get like so focused on something and I'm like, oh gosh, I have to go I have another appointment or a meeting or whatever, and then I'll just leave it because I don't want to be late. I do that. But then at the end of the night, I can't go to bed until I put the house away.
No. There's certain tasks in my house that have to be done every day. And if they're not done, I will not sleep. I cannot sleep. It stresses me out. I don't care if our living room is a mess. I don't care if my bathroom isn't super clean or something. I mean, it's clean, but if I use my sink,
White glove.
I can't go to sleep if there's dishes in my sink. That's a problem for me.
But how you're talking about how you help people with their businesses, and I know on one of our pre-interviews, because we've been talking a couple of times about I love apps. I love tools. I love apps. And that's one of the things that I teach my clients. It's like, what? Wait, why are we doing that manually? There's an app for that. You could totally set up some kind of app or automation. So I already talked about social media scheduling. So what other tools would you recommend for entrepreneurs to get, like we all need email, we all need social media, we need web sites and landing pages and all of those things. So what are some of the tools that you work with and you recommend to your clients?
For sure. So it really depends on your business, obviously, but if you're somebody who has a website, which I do recommend for any type of service industry, you have a website. A lot of people fight that thought, but you can get free websites very easily, or you can pay like $5 a year to have a domain. It's not as scary and big as people think it is.
No.
But to have automations on your website, so if somebody wants the product that you're selling, it will automatically deliver it to them without you ever even having to open your computer. That's something a virtual assistant can set up for you, or something you can do yourself. It's super simple. There's tons of free ones out there. I use MailPoet on my website. A lot of people like MailChimp. You've mentioned Zaps a couple times. Zapier is something that kind of takes notes for you, or kind of nudges you when the time is right, take care of something. You can do that with your email sequences. That's a big thing for creatives or for service-based entrepreneurs, because nurturing your client that's coming in takes a lot of energy. And a lot of times you're having the exact same conversation over and over and over, like your discovery call in an email. You can automate that and say, hey, tell me about what kind of event you're looking at, and ask them to fill this out. When they fill it out and send it back, oh, here's my contract. Fill this out, return it to me. Okay, here's your invoice. Please pay here. And it will do all of these things for you. And next thing you've got another date booked. You've got another something booked. You can set up automations for calendar scheduling, which there's some do's and don'ts with that, but allowing people to just have access to your calendar is a big relief for a lot of entrepreneurs, because it's something that's like, I'm on the go, let me get back to my calendar when I get back to my office. No, here's my calendar. You set it up right now. It's a done deal. And then it will even remind your client without you having to do anything. I have photo sessions coming up in December. Like, I've used Square for this. I use Calendly for different opportunities. Square will send them a confirmation text, and I can set it up where it will text them like 5 times, or I can do it just twice or whatever.
Nice.
It takes everything off of my plate, because I remember that we're doing photos. I might not remember to send you the address, send you the code to get in the place I'm renting for us to go and take pictures, or I can type everything and it will email all 15 of my clients that are coming. And it's beautiful.
Exactly. Can you imagine having to type those emails to each person? We could make a template and copy and paste, but even copy and pasting takes time and energy. And remembering, did I get them all?
So this is a big one. If you're a podcaster, having your podcast transcribed is a big thing for a lot of people. So Otter AI is my favorite transcriber.
I love Otter. See it right now.
I love it. And I just figured out that I think there's 3 different platforms you can integrate it with. And Otter will actually join your meeting and will transcribe during the meeting. So you don't even have to upload it to Otter. It will just be a part of it and take care of it for you. And it's brilliant. It is the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing. And it's free, which is even better. And just everything else you can pay. But you
for the more bells and whistles.
And something else that I use is HubSpot for my photo clients and design clients, I use HubSpot to do all of my contracts because it will track the emails that I send. It tracks whether they've opened them or not. Because that, for me, that is a big deal in my business, is like, okay, well, I sent you the email. Did they open it? Are they looking at it? Have they made any decision? Have they, and it will tell you this email's been opened 6 times by this party, which to me says, hey, they're thinking about it. But if it's never been, if it's never been opened, then you either didn't get it, or they forgot about it, or it went to spam, and you need to be able to follow up on those things. Really important thing for me. And Canva is probably my other best friend. Brand design, for creating social media graphics, for blog headers, for anything. I usually, even as a logo designer, I know it's like a dirty word in the logo world, but it's usually where I will start my designs. It's really easy to grab concepts from and start something there and share it really easily with the client.
And you can go back and forth on the design, can comment on the element, like that element. Very good for sharing.
Usually it's the starting point for my designs, and then I finish them, in other
because of the copyright issues with Canva.
I don't want them to look like came from Canva. I want it to look like you could do it yourself, whole episode in itself. But
there's a lot of people that are afraid to share all of this information with someone else. What is the best way to share content or apps and logins with your team? That's the thing, right? A lot of the times when we're going from solo to starting to outsource, that means I have to share all my stuff with random people on the internet. But there's that trust factor.
There's an app that's called LastPass, and a lot of people use that and rely heavily on it. I'm actually kind of very old school, and I prefer the pen and paper method. I have a client password tracker that is the pen and paper method, but it's really great for just organizing by your trade, or by your client, or by, if you wanted to do it, here's all of my HubSpot logins. If I have 15 different clients, then I don't even have to look up what website this is for. It's just, you can however you want to.
LastPass, if you have the same login for the same site, it's which one? Jobby, enroll in all these courses. Which one is it?
Yeah, so that will take care of. In LastPass, you can upload your information, and then it will safely transfer it to the person that you need to share your information with. It's a really great resource too, and I believe that it's free also. A lot of people have been on that track. You do have to be concerned with any website or with any email transaction when you're sharing passwords, how safe it truly is. But I have a download. It's my freebie. My digital download is the client password tracker. And it's just a simple way for you to keep track without even having to have logins for that. Because I know there's so many people, a lot of times when you're hiring a virtual assistant, it's because you are not the computer savvy one. It's a way for you to keep track of all of your logins, or keep track of all of your clients' logins, or be able to quickly, easily, without the internet, get to somebody's information. Which I guess you can either log in if you don't have the internet, but you're going. It's just a simple resource for organizing yourself or your business or someone else's business and keeping it in one spot.
I would say it's also good. What's coming to mind is recently a family member got diagnosed with early dementia. If you have to create passwords or accounts on their behalf, or they don't remember things, or even if taking care of my, I won't. It's my mother-in-law, only one. She was, I don't remember my login for that. Or even my husband's I don't remember my login for that. I know they're not going to use LastPass. Right. It's a great tool for you to download and get your family on it too.
For sure. And that's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm a pen and paper girl. I have told my husband several times, I'm the one that pays the bills in our house. If you didn't catch on with the stories of my ADHD husband, I'm the one that makes sure our bills are paid. I tell him, if I'm in a tragic accident, the very first thing you need to do is go into my planner and get the logins for everything. He's like, what do you mean? Shouldn't they be somewhere else? And I'm like, no, they're in my planner on this page, no matter what year it is. This is where I put them. This is where I track them. You can find all of my logins forever. You will be fine. My calendar is our Bible. It is the way that you will function. If I'm struck ill and can't do anything, it is rare. And that's what this tracker is. It's a one-page printout. You can print multiples if you have enough to fill it and you need more or need to share it with more people. It's just a really simple way to track things. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so the link to the client password tracker is going to be in the show notes. You can go ahead and grab those. And if there's anything you want to leave with the listeners today, what is that one thing that you feel like they need to hear today?
I think it's really good for you to assess your business, and hiring a virtual assistant doesn't have to be scary. I think the number one thing to remember is that it doesn't have to be a huge investment. It doesn't have to be a permanent investment. And its purpose is to help you out. That's it. The whole purpose is to relieve things from your plate to make sure that you're able to give into your creative processes more efficiently and more effectively.
And what I always talk about is, right, as the CEOs of our business, we need to stay with our zones of genius. They're scared of technology. And I find a lot of creatives are that way too. Not as much days, but it gets to be, I don't want to touch that, or I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, that's why you give it to me and my team, and then we will take care of that for you.
I have one client, she's a photographer, she's a boudoir photographer. She does not like a computer at all. She does not like, in her email, she doesn't like having to follow up on her email sequences. She will email me and she'll say, I need you to set this up for me and just make it work. I don't need you to maintain it every day. I need you to just get it right so I can maintain it, but I'm overwhelmed by the process of setting it up. And I'm like, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. It's intuitive for me. Doesn't make it easy or whatever, but it's intuitive for me to do it. I have lots of experience with that. Please let me do it and chill out on your stress level. It'll take me 2 hours to do something that's going to take you 12 hours to set up if you were left on your own. Think about that.
And that's 12 hours spread over probably a month.
And lots of drinks because you get frustrated with yourself and and time that's been pulled away from something else that needs your genius. If you just say, here's a task that I have, can you please help me with this? You can do it. You can get it done. And it's literally going to cost you less than if you would have tried to do it on your own.
That's what people don't get. Like, how much do you get paid for an hour of your photography, or an hour of your coaching, whatever business you have? When I'm helping people transition into the delegation piece, I'm like, you could hire an assistant that's only going to cost you this much, and you could spend more time with clients. Client facing, how do I explain it? Anything that doesn't need your face is outsourceable.
Anything that doesn't require, anything that just you can't do. If you're a creative, especially for my photography business, I can't outsource taking the photos, which actually you can have teammates that help you with this sort of thing.
Second shooter, something.
And you can outsource your editing. You just have to take the time to train somebody. But once you've gone through that, you are more available for weddings during the week, during the weekends. You're more available for your regular sessions. You can travel more. You can charge more because you're doing more. And your end dollar ends up being way higher than it would have been if it's just you and your one-man show.
And that's the thing, right? Charge more because one, like speed, people pay for speed. When we used to have to develop photos at the drugstore, where we pay for the 1 hour photo. It was like double the price for 1 hour photo. Instead of waiting a week to get your pictures, you get them back in an hour. When you have a team, you could literally shoot the wedding, give them the SD card and upload it on your computer and like see your editor's remote. That SD card to the the cloud, and they could be working on it while you're still shooting at the wedding. The reception.
SD cards that literally upload your stuff from your camera. Yeah.
What?
So you needed something that was immediate. And you can charge for that sort of stuff too. As the creative, you can say, my regular lead time right now is 10 weeks for you to get your entire wedding suite back. If you need it sooner than that, here's an expedited fee, and here's a rush fee if you need it in a month. I'll do it, but it's going to cost more because I'm going to have to hire somebody now and deprioritize the other things that are already in my queue. Things that you're doing and investing in are things that are going to make your business better and more profitable in the long end. And I think people are just afraid of a dollar sign in the very beginning, and they aren't willing to open their eyes and see it's truly an investment. Anything that you put your money into, if you do it the right way, it will perform for you leaps and bounds. You might not see extra dollar signs in your account immediately, but the creative genius that you have won't get burned out. It won't be overwhelmed. It won't feel stretched. You'll be able to expand your services and do that thing that you've been wanting to do and you've been dreaming about doing. Now you have the time for it because you've hired someone to manage your podcast or to transcribe your notes or to schedule your appointments or your flights or your copy on your website. All of those things that have to be done in order for you to have a functioning business. Most successful businesses are not just one person.
No.
I don't know why that they are.
We already talked about like your time is more valuable than the other. You charge X amount of dollars and then your virtual assistant costs less and they're actually faster at it. That's less hours spent, less time overall. This is for the neurodivergent ADHD people. If you hire an assistant, they will get your life together. And it'll help you feel more confident when you're trying to close new clients. You're going to not feel like, I'm a good coach, I'm a good photographer, but man, because you have all of this doubt and fear and like imposter syndrome about how unprofessional you feel behind the scene. When I've hired before I was ready and I'm like, I don't know, I just need help. But what it's done, I know for a lot of people being accountable to somebody else. So we hire coaches and mentors, but I'll tell you, your virtual assistant is probably cheaper than paying a coach, an accountability coach. And they're actually invested in your business. It will keep you on your toes. And that's why I was doing some things and then I restructured my business and I hired before I was ready. It was like, I need someone to keep me accountable. I know I have this project management skill set, but I hired a project manager because I need someone to tell me what to do when my deadlines are. I wanted to be here in my business and I didn't want to have to deal with that part too.
Yep.
No, I'm good at it and I do it for other people. I'm like, no, but I need you to tell me and like, get on my case. Because if not, I wouldn't be posting anything on social media. Oh, okay, Kylie forgot to write the caption for this. We have the graphic, but you need to write the caption. I'm like, oh, dude.
I just did it myself. I thought it was funny because I am a VA who does everything on their own. But I finally reached out and I have a podcast manager now, which is crazy to me because I can do the transcribing. I can create the graphics. I'm a branding designer at that. Love creating graphics. Gosh, talking is hard. I love all of the aspects that come with it. But so when I opened my podcast to start accepting guests, I did something really silly and I opened my whole calendar and I didn't just set aside specific dates or times. I truly didn't think I would get the response that I had. And I was overwhelmed by it. I literally recorded, I think I told you this already. I recorded like 20 episodes in 2.5 weeks on all of my lunch hours from my regular job. I was working my 9 to 5, not getting lunch breaks, or if I did, I had like 7 minutes left in them. Coming home, recording uploading everything, editing them, merging everything together, doing all of the steps. There's a lot of steps to a podcast too. Yeah. And I actually was cold emailed by my podcast manager and it just clicked and I said, okay, I think this is what I need to do. And literally the day that I signed the contract, I caught up on every single thing that I needed to do on my end that he wasn't gonna, I say the day, it was that weekend. I tackled everything that was on my to-do list because I know that I'm now accountable to him. I'm way ahead on the schedule for what he needs. He said, just send me your stuff for your next podcast and I'll make sure I stay right on task. I sent him 7. Moxie just has a continual workflow, and I know that I'm not going to be the stopping force.
That's how I feel. I'm like, I don't want to be the block.
And I'll get mad if I'm paying somebody else to do something. I sure as heck better be dotting my I's and crossing my T's and making sure that everything is in order and making that investment worth it. And it has been a kick in the pants in the best way.
That's the part that people don't get about outsourcing.
All of the things that I was doing, I was managing it okay. But then I got to a point and I was like, I feel like I can't even accept another podcast recording now because the stress of it is so much for me that I feel like I can't even be there. I can't even be in it because I'm also thinking of all of the things that have to come from that one 25-minute recording or whatever it's going to be. I solved all of those issues and it's great and I love him so much. I've never even met him and I love him so much.
And I'm so glad we talked about this. That's what people really need to hear is when we do outsource, it's more than the dollars. It's way more than the dollars. It's the sanity piece. Yeah. It's the stress piece. It's the freeing up your time to do your zone of genius, what people are paying you for, so you can take on more clients. That's the piece that people don't get. It's like, well, then I'll be paying. I don't have money. I can't afford to hire out. And I was like, yes, but you can't not afford to hire out eventually. You can't.
And there's that piece too that says you don't have to hire them forever. I have told my podcast manager from second email, I said, I don't think that this is a forever thing for me. I love what you offer, but I know that it's something that's within my wheelhouse. I just need you to get me caught up. And then if I go through one of these crazy spells where I open my calendar to the world again, idiot. I don't have the free time to be able to do that. Yes. But if I do something like that and I get excited about my business and want to just make it accessible for everybody whenever, I love knowing that you're in my corner of the internet now and that you're somebody that I can refer other people to. Maybe I can't give you all of the money that I want to, but I hope that I can connect you with enough people that your time with me was worth it and was an investment and was a positive experience. And maybe I'll be big enough someday where I need somebody to do this all the time. And I just love having people that you can call on when you need them and they're reliable and you know it's going to get taken care of.
Yes.
You know?
That's the piece. I've been through a whole bunch of virtual assistants who didn't pan out, but I have very good people on my team that I trust and that are actually automations person is better than me at automation. Yeah. That's what I heard before. It's like, oh, hire better. And I'm like, how do I hire better at the stuff that I'm good at? But you know, pride, ego, whatever. But and she loves doing it. Like when we had the initial interview, we stayed on for like 3 hours just talking about different apps and did you see that app? What about that app? And we're just going through all of that. And I was like, okay, obviously she's my girl because I needed to offload some of that client work from my plate. And it's like, was it disingenuous that I'm not doing it? It's like, no, I just informed the people that I have a team that will be working on the account with me now.
Here's the thing. If you look at a regular brick and mortar business, not blindsided. Look at my company, for instance, we're a construction company. So president, then there's the project managers and estimators, the administrative team, the superintendents for the field, the foreman, and then the lay people. Even if we're talking about one single job, all of those people are involved with every single job. I would expect the owner of my company, who used to do this in the field, he is a carpenter by trade. You can't expect him to be the person that writes your contract, that tracks your insurance, that makes your invoices, that sends the actual check, fills out all of your warranties and guarantees, and is the guy that shows up and builds your building for you. You cannot possibly expect that that's going to be the same people. Why do we think that that is the case for small businesses like us? And my company is a small business. There's only like 50 of us. Right. Our family-owned business. It's very small. They are not surprised when they get an email from me saying, hey, here's the things that I need in order to make Dan's job run or Rick's job run. it's just part of the process. I think people have that bias against themselves. I decided to do this on my own, so I have to do it all. That is not the case. That is not the truth. That is a lie. I think it's a lie from the enemy that tells you that you have to be able to do everything on your own.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not the truth. And if you're somebody who's like, I just want to help people and I feel it, you're kind of more of the philanthropist and looking for different ways to connect with other people. I kind of like tease about it, but I'm like, that's a way for you to help somebody. Hiring, just to be silly, hiring me as your virtual assistant, you literally will pay for extra bills in our family to be paid. You'll pay for extra fun things in our family to be able to do. You're paying off our student debt. You're doing all of these things. I'm a real person. It makes a real life impact on me when I have a study full of clients. And I kind of tease people out. Don't you want me to go on a vacation? Don't you want me to have a bag?
My virtual assistant recently got married and I sent her a bonus. It's like, oh my God. And so I told her, send me your personal PayPal. Gosh, thank you for the gift. And it's that reciprocation. She does so much for me. She helps keep me in line. That's what happens when you have good rapport with your team. Yeah. And I get it. Like when I first hired, it was good. And then they kind of decided to do other things and I had to find somebody else. And then that journey was like, goodness, like I just won't hire anymore because y'all are not, you're not reliable. And then it does take some learning, or you could just hire someone that is vetted and is reliable, and like Emily, who has a track record of success, not just in her business, but also what she's doing in her day job because she's running someone else's business.
Multi-million-dollar business. Yeah, he's busy.
And he's taking those expert skills, running a multi-million-dollar business, and then applying it to your business. Mm-hmm. I just did a post on this yesterday. I ran multi-million-dollar projects. That's why I got my first gig. Yep. And I worked with a lot of 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs because it was just like, she's helping you. I need that too. It's like, okay. And like, not a lot of people needed my expertise because I was running the bigger projects and they had bigger businesses and could afford that price. And then you hire who you need at the time that you need it. If you're a business owner, you're going to be continually hiring new people into your business as your business grows. Why not get comfortable with learning how to outsource and being comfortable hiring and trying and people on your team and learning how to work with other people, learning how to trust people, be on your team. There's a Franklin Covey program or book called The Speed of Trust. Mm-hmm. Your organization can only grow as quickly as the speed of trust is the basic tagline for the book. And we learned it in corporate. We're a multi-bajillion corporation, but they had every single employee go through that course because if the lay people don't trust the project manager, then there's all of that that fluff that gets in the way. Like, I don't trust that project manager. I'm going to just do it my own way. I'm not going to follow the project plan. It just gets muddy. But when you have a company that has a lot of trust, the productivity just gets that much faster. And your productivity just goes through the roof. One, you outsource, you delegate, that your productivity goes to the roof, but just trusting your team, hiring people that you trust, just exponentially thing. I know we've talked a lot about a lot of things today. So if I want to just go back and just tell people again where they can find you online and like how they can get that client tracker, password tracker.
You can find me almost anywhere at Moxie Assist. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I mostly hang out on Instagram. I'm on Pinterest. And my website is my name. It's emilywoodruff.com. It will shortly be moxieassist.com.
Hey, thank you, Emily. Thank you so much for being here today. And I can't wait to hear the responses back from the people who take what you've said today and really implement it in their business and see how their business is transformed. And thank you for being here today on the Burnout Entrepreneur podcast. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.